action.
The story of the Milkmaid is a story of two sisters who are living their lives as milkmaids in the village. And the younger sister is in the process of getting married, and that wedding happens. But right in the middle of the wedding, they encounter an attack by extremists and get taken away from their village, relocated to the camp of the extremists, and there they undergo the process of indoctrination and basically a new way of living which they are not accustomed to. So the story is about how the sisters adjust to the new situation they find themselves, and how those interactions and that encounter affects their lives and affects their relationships between themselves and the wider society. The idea of the story was to take a look at some of the victims of the insecurity situation in the country. Now, we've been reading about various reports of casualties of insecurity in the country, but what we don't usually have are stories behind the people involved in this crisis. What we see are the statistics, 10 people died, 15 people died, 50 people died. But we get to know nothing about these people as human beings, their lives, their loves, their desires, their hopes. So the film really aims to train a spotlight on the lives of the people caught up in the insurgency situation in the country. Now, basically, I did a lot of extensive research across, primarily online, with some interviews with some people connected to the insurgency. But there's a lot of material online, a lot of material from various agencies and stakeholders involved as either security officers or as welfare agencies, AIDS workers, and the victims themselves. So a lot of material was gone through to try and arrive at what I hope to be a very credible and authentic depiction of the people involved in the crisis. Writing scripts is never easy, and it took a lot of research to be able to come up with the final shooting script for this film, because I had to read probably over 300 articles on the security situation or the insecurity situation. I just began to get the world in which this story was going to take place. One of the biggest obstacles, obviously, is raising financing for the film, trying to finance the film with this storyline in Nigeria, and trying to do it on an international level. That is not a sort of local level where it's sort of, to use a derogatory phrase, cheap and cheerful, but trying to do things correctly in every department, from script to screen, the costumes, the props, the actors involved in it, the quality of the camera you're using, the lenses, the lighting, all this costs money. So trying to cobble together a budget which adequately catered for all these elements of production to international level was definitely challenging to raise that money.
The writer and director, Desmond Obiagele, is a childhood friend. And we were talking about the movie, which you may have heard of, called Black Panther. And at which point I said to him, at some point in your career, I hope you will be able to put out a movie like this. At which point he shot back that, okay, if you can get us funding for such, and then I'll produce it for you. So I asked him if there was any projects he was working on, and then he told me about The Milkmaid and sent me the script. Upon reading the script, I was extremely impressed. I was impressed because of the storytelling, the ups and downs, and the unexpected twists in the plot. So immediately I was fascinated, and the subject matter has really captivated me. And I said, this is a story that needs to be told. More so, it's an African story being told by Africans. And I place a lot of value in that, in us being able to tell our own stories. So from then on, I was fully signed up.
The Milkmaid is a local language film. So it's predominantly in-house language, some elements of the Fulani language, Fulfulde, and also some elements of Arabic as well, because that is a natural language for some of the characters in the film. So choice of cast was predicated on the languages that we've spoken of. So many of the more prominent and popular Nollywood actors are not in this film because it's a Hausa-speaking film. So we essentially had to gravitate towards Kannywood, which is the Hausa-speaking aspect of Nollywood. And the characters there and the actors there informed our choices in terms of cast, as well as the general audition which we conducted for the film. A couple of them came aboard around about the same time. One of our lead actresses, Mariam Duke, was one of the first cast to come aboard this project. She read the script, she really liked it. Then we had a general audition at which most of the other roles were also cast for the rest of the film. The obstacles of funding are the typical obstacles in funding Nigerian films. How am I going to get my money back if it's not a comedy? And this is not a comedy. So we had to show people what we're trying to achieve with the story in terms of the value to our nation, telling a story which is very relevant, which is very pertinent to what's going on in the country. And having seen the quality of the cast who are involved in production, having seen the quality of the crew who are involved in production, that helps to convince investors that if we put in money into this project, they'll actually get their money back and hopefully a multiple of that as well.
My name is Mariam Duke, and I'm playing the role Zainab, Aisha's little sister.
She goes through a lot in the course of this entire performance. She views life as it is. She prefers freedom, and she's protective though. But in as much as she's protective, she wants to be at home. She still wants to be free. She wants to learn things her own way. She doesn't want to be taught about who she is or what she should do. She believes that what is right or what is wrong comes innately. It's not something that would just be taught or given to us by religion or anything. She believes that instinctively she knows what is wrong and what is right.
And this is the first time I'm involved into a movie of this international standard. So it's like a dream come true. I know this was my dream when I was a kid. Now I'm imagining.
We're Fulani, and we have a lovely, lovely family. My dad and my mom, then my sister, before everything turned around during my wedding.
Well, our aim, our target in this production is to shoot a film which can compete not only locally but also internationally as well. And that necessitated very experienced hands in every single department of this production, particularly the very critical departments. And every department is critical, really. But starting with the principal photography, the cinematography of this film, very important. I had somebody who was very experienced, not just experienced, very ambitious in terms of the visual look of the film. So when I was about to shoot this film, when I finished the script, my very first choice of director of photography was Yinka Edward, who I had heard about, we had met, we had discussed. We were looking for a project both of us could work on together. And fortunately, he had some free time and he came down to shoot this film. Well, I think we're quite fortunate. People seem to connect with the script, and that's always very helpful, because once people connect with the script, then that's half of your negotiation and convincing done. You know, they can see the story, you feel attached and connected to the story and impacted by the story. So actually, that helped that people from the word go haven't read the script, were able to connect to the project on that level.
I got a call from Pat Nebo, production designer, to alert me that I was going to get a call from Desmond, the director. I've worked with him previously in the past on his other movie, and we shot the Render to Caesar 2012. So it was amazing that I got called again for this one, and I looked forward to it before even reading the script, because I knew that he's such a great scriptwriter. First of all, the first research you do is the one you do online, where you try and gather pictures from all kinds of places to kind of help you with the characterization of the characters and the characterization of the actors in the movie. But there's no research as good as the one you do on ground when you come. So when I came on ground, I did more research, just basically taking pictures in the market, going to huts of people, just observing the people around. I think that was like the best experience ever. And it was really good for me. I asked questions also from people that from some actors, and they were willing to help.
And the first thing I did was to make a research on Taraba itself and the culture we're portraying in the script, then the people affected by the insurgents. And after that, I was able to have a background of what I'm coming to do on the set as a makeup artist. Using your makeup to tell the characters, not by dialogue, but by their face, the way I made them up, speaks for each and every character.
Quite a lot of people think Hausa and Fulfulde are the same language because people call them Hausa Fulanis, but it's not the same. The fact is this: Fulani is a different language, while Hausa is a different language. Almost all people that understand Hausa language do not understand Fulfulde. Equally, there are a lot of people who understand Fulfulde and cannot speak Hausa as well. Therefore, these are two different languages. So, I really had it very difficult to teach or to coach those ones who understand Hausa language how to speak Fulfulde.
We've been to the mountains. We've been to the forests.
To the valley.
The only place left is the underworld. Mira.
I would say the thing that attracted me the most working on this project, well, of course, like from the start, was the script. From reading the script, I could just tell it just had so much depth. You could tell that it was well researched. The characters were well, had a lot of depth to them, and so that just attracted me straight away. The fact that it was also going to be shot outside of Lagos meant that, it was going to be a scenic film and not, so claustrophobic. And just, I guess the fact that it was also a different language. So the challenge, I would say, attracted me.
Okay. I worked with the director, Desmond, some years back on his previous project, Render to Caesar. So he called me and he told me about the project, is the reason for the project, the impact of the project on the society and the world at large, and that felt very compelling, besides the art of the movie itself. And later I saw pictures of the movie, I saw some scenes of the movie, and the background, because I grew up in the North, so that took me to some part of my childhood, which was nice for the project, was nice for me, and I'm pretty sure was nice for him too. And then it wasn't just another film of, okay, people just acting. It has a social impact. So all that factors put together, I just had to say yes to the project. Yeah, it was pretty challenging getting to explain musically to people how conservative and Hausa person is, and which, of course, in so many projects I haven't done that in a while. And then the nature of Hausa music, and like you can also tell one thing about Nigerian music. For most culture,
you can dance, like you can take a Yoruba music and an Igbo music and you pretty much use the same dance. For an Hausa music, you can't use those dance steps. And even right now, you can tell that there isn't so many popular Hausa songs, like Hausa pop music, because it's quite challenging translating those cultures into the mainstream urban, because the culture itself is conservative. So once it goes to a certain tempo, a certain rhythm, it becomes, no, this isn't us anymore. So and working on the project has that feeling that most time I have to pause and think, okay, it would be nice to, it would have been nice to do that, but it will just cut us off the feeling, and then the music won't be consistent. So it was quite challenging in that area of expressing those little cultural differences.
Well, Taraba, as you could probably see behind me, is one of the most beautiful locations in Nigeria. It's got wonderful hills, it's got wonderful valleys, wonderful rivers and lakes and streams. And, you know, I thought Taraba would showcase, you know, and depict that contrast between all that is best and beautiful about this country and then some of the acts of insurgency and insecurity in the country as well. So it's really just sort of a visual contrast between what's beautiful and what is on the other side of the spectrum. Well, obviously Taraba is part of northern Nigeria, so you do have some exposure to the desert. And with the desert comes some extreme conditions in terms of wind and in terms of thunderstorms. We've actually had half of our sets, which is set up, we were about to roll camera, and that set was destroyed by a very severe thunderstorm preceded by a sandstorm. So these are elements of climatic conditions which affect our shooting. That's one of the issues we have with shooting in Taraba State. In addition to that, just getting some of the locals here comfortable with us bringing a camera into their situation and pointing the camera and shooting. Because of the insecurity situation, people are nervous whenever strangers come in and start to set up equipment and they see them carrying props and this and that, and having to reassure them that this is just a film and we're actually trying to showcase their culture, to showcase their environment, but eventually they get the hang of it, but that communication needs to take place. Gembu obviously is one of the most beautiful places in Nigeria. But one of the reasons why it remains the most beautiful place in Nigeria is because it's not accessed frequently by many people. It's actually difficult to access. It's a 7-hour journey from the state capital in Jalingo all the way up the mountain to Gembu. But once you get there, it's worth your while. But the journey there is not easy, not just moving cars, but moving heavy equipment, heavy trucks with generators up the mountain to go and shoot there is indeed a very expensive and challenging task. But by the grace of God, we're able to do so.
The locations are so far apart, so we have to do like serious travel. And sometimes I travel and I get there, I have to film that same day. I have to sort through the costumes. I have to make sure sometimes I'm meeting the locals / actors for the first time. So there's a lot going on all at once. But well, with experience.
My experience filming has been fun and really tasking, especially physically. I've had to climb mountains, stay long hours, milk a cow. I think it has been fun and tasking. But in all of that, it has been experiential because I've learned a lot. And I think the more this production progresses, I'll do better because I'm getting more comfortable with what is expected of me and what I should do, what steps to take, and how this should go.
Well, the moment I saw the director of this project, I don't need an angel to tell me that it's a successful project. It's a man who has a vision, and it's a man who is focused. You saw a lot of level of commitment in him, and that is what makes me to devote my time to almost spend 24 hours in this project with you every day.
He's just a person that wants the best. He can squeeze you out no matter how long it takes to bring out the best in you. Because whenever he sees you, he knows what he can deliver. And he will never stop until you've given him that best.
A couple of our crew buses were apprehended at a checkpoint, and when the security officers there inspected our cargo, to their amazement and alarm, they saw some of our costumes and our props which were en route from Lagos to Jalingo to enable us to shoot the film. Immediately, they detained the bus, they detained the items, and our crew had to spend up to about 5 days in detention while the officers were trying to sort out exactly who these people were, where they were going to, and where they were carrying such what they considered sensitive materials across several state borders en route to Taraba State.
When we got flagged, that was the second bus. We now turned back. When we got there, to our greatest surprise, everybody was being paraded on the ground. They were like criminals, and we were asked to join them. People in the community started coming out, trying to see what was going on. Before we knew it, some of them were taking pictures and videos. Somehow they overcame the policemen that were there. The policemen couldn't control them any longer. So suddenly a priest appeared from nowhere. I know, he looked like a Catholic priest to me. He incited the public and he was like, these are the people killing our people. Please do something about this. He felt that maybe if we were actually the real killers of people in their community and the police should take us away, maybe we will bribe them and they will let us go. Maybe that was what he was afraid of. So the people tried to, lynch us. But somehow some of us maneuvered our way. Like I, for one, I ran to the police van and I told them that they should take us to their headquarters. Somehow, I don't know where the other guys were, so everybody had to, find his way out of the incident area. One driver that was beaten mercilessly, he was looking like, just half dead on the floor. His face was swollen, he couldn't breathe, blood was gushing out of his nose. The commander came to me and he told me that what really happened between us and the community. I told him that nothing happened. Because he now said that the report that got to his office was that we came to the community and overthrew the community and started killing people. And I told him that nothing like that happened. After that, we were thinking they would let us sleep outside. We didn't know that they would treat us as criminals. So later on, a command came from somewhere, I don't know. We just found ourselves being ordered to enter the cell. When we got into the cell, we saw criminals, hard-hitting criminals. Some of them were even the headsmen killing each other. We literally stood up, sleeping, standing from that night to the morning period. We were standing, we did not, lie down, so we were sleeping, we were dozing off standing.
We weren't able to shoot, obviously, because all our costumes were on that bus, in addition to key props. Eventually, we were able to sort that out, but that was a very, very trying and challenging aspect of our production, and everybody was worried.
I didn't feel discouraged. I actually wanted to move on with this. I wanted to end the story very well, and I decided to stay back to travel with the team to Taraba. The first word that came from someone from the production was the production manager. He said that you guys are the heroes of this movie. That touched me, and I felt the urge, to participate in this.
Obviously, that episode actually cost us not just in terms of money, but also in terms of some of our equipment and props which are destroyed in the process of the apprehension.
It's a clarion call to all movie makers that no matter the situation, no matter the circumstance, keep the faith, keep doing this because it's the right thing. If we don't tell these stories, people will not know about them. It was a terrible situation, of course, yeah, but we have to move on. We have to keep doing this.
My hope with this movie is that it draws attention to the victims of the insurgency as human beings in their own right, and also helps people understand how people, normal people, innocent people, can get caught up not just as victims of the insurgency, but also as perpetrators of the acts of insurgency themselves.
People have been killed, with just no reason. People will go to their farms and they don't come back alive. So This movie is, I don't want to believe that it's just about the quality of the film. Pay attention to the message. I think that is what this movie is trying to achieve. If you pay attention to the message, you will get the message, and that is going to help us in this country, because some people don't actually know about this. If you travel outside this country, most people don't know about this. So I believe that this movie is going to tell our story, tell the story of Nigeria, tell the story of what is happening in Nigeria, and I believe that is what this movie is trying to achieve.
The impact I would like this film to, that I know that it will have, it's not what I like. Like, the script is so great, the message is so profound. I know that we're going to shock people with the visuals of this film. I mean, this story has been told before, but never in this way. We're going to shock people. We're going to make people wake up. We're going to make people see what is going on around us.
My hope for the film is that it goes really far because it touches on a lot of contemporary issues. So I believe in the dream, I believe in the vision. And since I see the amount of effort put into this movie to make sure that we achieve excellence, I believe it will do well.
So we need to shine a light on this matter, and that is my aspiration for the Milkmaid movie. That's to bring the engagement, the sensitivity to the issue, bring the popular culture to come to recognize this as something that is happening that should not be so.
We can tell proper, well-grounded stories in Nigeria, and there are lots of stories in Nigeria because it is based on, true people's stories, Yeah, so hoping that it can somehow influence people in, doing something about many people who are being, displaced on a daily basis in the North, and in other places of the world. But then also that people can just see that art can be made, from Nigerians. It was Nigerians who made the film.
History will be made on that day that the film is finally out. Kudos to Africa, kudos to Nigeria, kudos to culture, values, and norms.